welcome back to the studio. So tonight we're going to do a little test. Now, a lot of people tell you if you're not a very basic beginner that you really need to get some artist quality watercolor paints, and I guess I can believe that, but I'm not really sure why I believe that. So I want to do a little test tonight. I'm going to take some paints I've had for a long time with these watercolor discs. I couldn't even tell you where I got these, but I've had them quite a long time, stuffed in a drawer somewhere. I can't believe these are artist quality paints. I think I paid only a couple of dollars for them. I've got my Daler Rowney paints, which I know are student grade paints, very nice. I've got some Angora watercolor paints. These came, I believe, from Michael's Market. I got these, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago as a gift, or maybe 9 years ago, something like that. I don't use them a whole lot. They don't seem quite as transparent as other watercolors, but they're nice nonetheless. The colors are a little funny for me. But I don't believe these are artist quality. I believe these are student quality also. And then my studio palette, which I know are filled with M. Graham paints, professional artist quality. And so I thought we would do just a little test, take a few colors, put them on a piece of paper and see what the differences between them are. So let me move a couple of these off to the side just a bit. I'm going to get a piece of paper here and a paintbrush. This will do just fine. And let's do this, a green. Here we go. I've got several greens on here. These come in color discs. This is a green one. Looks like this is close to sap green on here. I've got a sap green here, or something very close. Probably sap green here, and I know I've got a sap green on this one. So let's just see what we can do with these colors. Let's get a good bit of paint on our brush here. This one I have to wet just a little bit. Let's see what we can do. Well, that's not coming out very good. That might be too much water. Let's just dig in there a little bit. Now these paints, like I said, I can't believe these are artist quality, so they probably don't have the greatest amount of pigment in them. But we'll do this nonetheless. We'll just let that pull out and see how that goes. See if we can get a little more pigment up there. There we go. Okay, so here's our first one. I think the second one we'll use will be the Daler Rowney. How do you say that? Daler Rowney. Daler Rowney set. Let's get a little bit of that green on there. Well, that's a nice color green, actually. Put a little swab of it on, and let's blend it right on down and see how it runs. There we go. Maybe there, let's do that. Alright, let's set that one off to the side for a second. Let's bring out the Angora paints. Is that going to be the right one? Oh, that can't be right. These paints, I've noticed the colors are a little funny on them. They're just a little different than what I would normally, different hues, different shades than what I would normally use. So even when I was starting out, I didn't use this set a whole lot. Plus they're pretty opaque. Alright, and now the one I know, I've got a sap green right there. Good, that's good. Let's let that one run down and see how it does. I'm going to set that off to the side, and let's do the same thing with another color. Let's see, I started with the discs. So I've got one here that I think is pretty close to alizarin crimson. Is this the right one? I think this is the one, alizarin crimson. That's not, can't be it. It's got to be the one I was using. Yeah, oh yeah, this is the one right there. So let's get as much paint on there as we can. I'm literally rolling the bristles right in there. There's a little dollop of water right on the top. Let's just bring this down and see how this runs out. Okay. The second one we did was the Daler set. Now what really started me on this was, you know, everybody says, well, you need to get artist quality paints, you need to get artist quality paints. And then I started doing some reading online, and I read that any of the paints that you use now are as good as, you know, any of the student grade paints that you use now are basically as good as the artist quality paints that you bought 10 years ago or 15 years ago. Right? The student quality now is just as good as the artist quality was back then. Well, that got me thinking, well, if that's the case, how good are the student quality paints? They must be pretty good. So I wanted to do a little test. This is a good forum to do it, I think. Just to see, just to get a little comparison on what the differences really are between these. And I'm looking at it and I'm suspecting that it's not quite as much as I originally thought it was going to be. There we go. Let's let that run down. And let's do one more. We've got a red, we've got a green. Let's do a blue. So let me get my disc back here. I'm going to hope that this one is something like an ultramarine. It looks kind of like it. Let me see if I can just get that nice and wet and load that up with as much pigment as I can get. That might be all I can get out of that one. And just let this blend down. We can see how it runs out here. Well, the blue's not working all that well at all. Okay, there's our discs are done. I know we've got the equivalent of a ultramarine blue in the Daler set. Just trying to get as much of that color as I can on here. There we go. We'll just pull that on down, see how it runs. Give it a good test here. Now our third one was this Angora set. Let's see which one this is going to be. I think it's going to be this one. I'm really rubbing that in. Yep, that looks like ultramarine. There we go. Just a little water on that brush. Now I am using a brush that holds quite a lot of water, so I want to have a long pull down here at the bottom of this. Whoops, I got one more to do, don't I? I've got to do my professional over here. These are the M-gram colors. Wow, that's quite a bit different. I just tapped that one on the paint. Let's let that one run. Something like that. That might be a little too wet. Let's see how it does. I'm just drying my brush off to get a little bit of that water off of there. Okay, let me move these paints off to the side. Let me dry these cards and bring it back and let's take a look at it. Alright, here we are. We're back. I've dried all of these off, or mostly dried these off, enough that we can see what's going on with them. And we can kind of see on a couple of these, or we can definitely see on a couple of these, the differences in the quality of paints. On this one and this one, our greens is really washed out here and really light. And these were, the 1 and 3 were the discs that I picked up for a couple of bucks a long time ago in my Angora paints. You can tell on the blues here too, they just don't, they're not as bright, they're not quite as dark on here. Should zoom in a little bit so you can see a little bit better. They're just not quite as bright of a blue as these two. They're a little more muted. It might have something to do with the shade, and they just pale out very quickly. The reds seem to be a little bit better across the board. I would say that that probably has to do more with the newer pigments. Red, I know, has come a long way recently, but so the reds, it does pretty good all the way across the board, and they all look the same. But the greens and the blues, there seemed to be a big difference on. The M-gram did get a little bit light here, but it's got some nice color. Even when it's very thin down here at the bottom, you can still see some nice color on that. And the Daler-Rowney one did get a little thin down here. I might not have gotten quite enough water, but up here at the top, they both stand out as being quite a bit darker, quite a bit richer of color. And the same thing with the blues. So overall, I'm surprised that this set and the round ones aren't too far off from the professional quality one, the ones I know that I paid $7, $8, $9, $10 a tube for. They're not too far off from that. And the Daler-Rowney one that I got this pack for, I think I got this for $8 or $9 for the whole thing, actually holds up fairly well compared to the professional colors. Whoa, I'm off the screen, I should say. I should move these. So I'm a little more impressed with this kit, the Daler kit, now than I was 15 minutes ago. It seems to have held up better. Now, having said all this, this is a pretty controlled environment. We did a very simple test. If I were to set this out in the sun for a couple of days, the color fastness of this one would probably stay much more than the two really student grade ones, and probably the same thing with the greens and the reds too. So anyways, there you go. It's a quick test. So if somebody says, well, you need to move up, you need to buy you know, a $9 a tube paint to do your paintings with, you could do a quick test like this and show them, you know what, for the most part, the cheaper colors hold up fairly well. There are a couple exceptions, but there you go. So anyways, just a quick little experiment I thought I would try tonight because I was curious on my own to see what the difference between professional grade paints and between artist professional grade paints and between student grade paints was. And there you go, you've got a little sample of it now. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Give a like if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel. I'd love to see you back here. I'm going to try to do some more reviews like this. Some other things. If you have a suggestion for me, there's something you'd like to see me do, send me a line. Let me know. I'll be happy to do that for you. All right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.